Anxiety is something I've struggled with many times in my life, and many people I've spoken to and coached to have also struggled with it. And it's a sensitive subject. But today I want to talk about the importance of trust in working through anxiety that I found. Now, like I said, have had it many times, different times, right? And it's not about like this is the one size fits all. Again, it's just me sharing my experience, and some people go on treatment for it. Um, and I'm not going to go down that route, but whole again, it's what you think's best for you. Um, I would say though that many times there's been like different approaches. I've seen things and noticed patterns and when I've had anxiety, right? And again, it's like everyone's got different stories and different cases, right? But for me, I really want to talk about the importance of trust today within it. For me, anxiety is about when I was like focusing on like the future and something going wrong. That's anxiety. I'm not in the present moment because when you're in the present moment, you're in the present moment, and there is only the present moment. Now, you don't want to ignore the future because you got to plan. You got to plan your finances. You got to plan your life. There's events coming up. Like I'm in project management and I've been in sales. I've got to think in the future, but I don't live there. I just make some plans there. But when you are constantly worried about what's coming, that can put you in a state of anxiety, which I personally found. And the reality is this, I've realized that life is uncertain. Um, Sorry, just to say it, there's no such thing as certainty, right? The certainty you can only have is in yourself. But there are ways, of course, to minimize risk in certain things. And then trust is really, really important. Trusting in yourself is the main thing. And we're going to talk about that in a moment as well. But maybe you've been worried constantly, you're on a cycle and it's just really exhausting. Well, that's probably not helping you. So I wanted to share some points with you today. So the first one I'm going to suggest is record times when life has been challenging and when you've overcome it and things have shown up, things have worked out for the better for you, right? So that means when you were really nervous about something and actually what happened in the end, how do you overcome the challenge? Because we can always ask the question, what's going to go wrong? But we can also ask the question, what could go right and what have I overcome before? So just writing down times when you've overcome a challenge or something that seemed really, really hard is going to get your brain to rewire in that way. The second thing is if there's something you're worried about, um, write down all the things that you can do about it. That I find is really, really helpful practically because there's things you can't do and there's things you can do. So even just writing down the things that you can do can be really, really a powerful process I've found. And it just thinks, wow, I have an opportunity to do this, this, and this, but I can't control this. It's not necessarily going to suddenly make you feel like I've got no anxiety for life, but it's certainly for me writing down what I can do and what I can focus on is giving me some kind of plan, and that's creating more trust within inside myself when I've done that. And obviously, going back to the first point, that's going to create more trust in you as well because you're like, I've overcome challenge before, I can do it again. We just forget about these things. Our brains always focus on things, and often it's not focusing on the goodness with us unless you do some of these things that I'm talking about on a fairly regular basis. And then the final one is this. It's a bit of a bizarre one, but it works for me. It's visualize a challenge and how you would overcome it. So think about like a real, maybe worst case scenario, like within reason, like not something like suddenly, a an earthquake or something like that. We're talking about something like I don't know, missing a deadline or like being or not getting a business deal or something like that, or maybe it not working out with someone, right? that you're dating, right? So visualize that, and then think about that worst case scenario, and actually think about overcoming it or working through it, because then that's training the brain to do a little bit more of like, okay, I'm gonna do that. Now if it's too intense for you, don't do that and pick a minor example, I would suggest, or even like a part of that, right? And again, this is just something that has personally worked for me. So that's also going to create trust, because your brain doesn't know the difference between fake and reality. And when you can walk yourself through a situation like you've already overcome it, your brain will start to believe more of it, right? It's the power of visualization. So I want to share my points once again as we kind of wrap up today on how the importance of trust is really important for overcoming anxiety. And then just to re-emphasize again that if you've got serious anxiety, of course, I'm not a mental health professional or a doctor or anything like that. Obviously, go see a professional if you need it, right? So the first thing is, yeah, just recording times you overcome something. When you're worried about something going wrong or the future, just think about all the things you've overcome and just list it down and read that every single day if you can. And then 2, map out everything you can actually do. Like in a situation, something's really bothering you. If there's several things, you can just do one each day. Just have a little bit of a go. Okay, I'm worried about this happening, but realistically, this is all I can do, right? So list that out. And then the third thing, visualize yourself on how you've overcome, how you could overcome a situation. So something like challenging happens, how would you overcome it? If it's too intense, pick a smaller thing or just a step of it, right? And how you would overcome, and then feel good for working through that, because that'll train the brain how to move forward with courage even more. So I appreciate you for being here, and remember to lead with your heart and not with fear.